Religions are an organized and structured set of beliefs that have allowed humans to seek and develop an explanation of the world that surrounds us. Religions aim to provide an explanation to complex concepts such as where do we come from, why do we exist, what happened after our death. Questions that everyone asks themselves and all human beings have asked. Religion in reality is the true expression of creativity and imagination of humans, longing to seek answers and explain the world that surrounds us. Have you ever lied down on the ground, observing the sky and the shapes of the clouds, marveling at them and thinking why they have those forms? I'm sure you all have. In one way or another, this is how the first religions emerged, through the creativity of our ancestors. As we can see, the first religions emerged around 200,000 years ago, even before the appearance of Homo sapiens. But it wasn't until thousands of years later that the first monotheistic religions, more similar to the ones that we know today, religions with only one god, appear. After that, the most known religions today, Judaism, Islamism, or Christianism, appear. After their appearance, attempts began to demonstrate that the God in which they believe was the real and true one. One of the tools that has been used to demonstrate it is the principle of causality. To understand it better, let's take a journey through the history of the principle of causality. Our first stop will be the ancient Greece, more specifically the city of Caesarea, where the great Greek philosopher Aristotle was born. Aristotle, through his great intellect and observation of the world, asserted that every effect must have a cause. If we see a ball moving on the ground, it's because something has caused it. If we see rain falling from the sky, it's because something must have caused it. Aristotle decided to call this phenomena the principle of necessary causality, laying the groundwork for the principle of causality. To continue understanding this principle, our next stop will be 1,000 years later in the 13th century to meet the Italian thinker St. Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas skillfully used the theory of causality coined by Aristotle, modifying it in his favor to try to demonstrate the existence of God, adding that the cause must always be greater than the effect, and therefore the first cause, God, must be the greatest and most perfect thing. This demonstration of God through causality was strongly accepted through the Middle Ages in European societies until the arrival of the nominalists. The nominalists instaured a new way of thinking, installing doubt and skepticism about whether we could really know the cause of an effect with certainty, beginning to lay the groundwork of an attack on the demonstration of God through causality, ultimately following the footsteps of our ancestors, the early humans, who over and over and over again tried to understand the nature of the world. This is how we have advanced as a society and take the top of the food chain. These attempts to demonstrate and understand the nature of the world through nominalist currents led us to our next step. Now we have to stop and refuel for a while because a big part of the journey led ahead of us. Now we are in England, the 18th century, to meet the English philosopher David Hume. Hume's criticism, along with other contemporaries like Locke, supposed a huge problem for the religion of its time, causing discomfort in people who obviously do not want their beliefs to be undermined. We want to think that our beliefs are the true ones and the real ones. Some people will do anything to prove them. And what Hume does here is to criticize them. His best critique is presented in his second book, An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding. In his book, Hume asks questions. Does the connections that we see in the world are really there, or are we humans the ones who create them? To better understand these questions, let's imagine an example presented by Hume. The flames of a campfire. Generally, whenever we see flames, heat occurs. So our brain, through our memory and experiences, identify the flames as a cause and the heat as an effect. When this experience is repeated over and over and over again, our brain connects both experiences, turning them into cause and effect. But as Hume says, this relationship is never really seen. It's only in our brains. Therefore, we cannot affirm that anything is the cause of another. With this highly skeptical point of view, Hume tried to dismantle the theories or the demonstrations of God through causality. Because according to his theory, nothing can be a cause. Therefore, God cannot be the primordial cause that led to the creation of the world. Hume's theories can also be used to criticize another try to demonstrate the existence of God, the argument of design. To better understanding this argument, let's imagine an eye. If we look at the eye, it seems so perfect, so tailored, that cannot be something that cannot be the work of the nature's whim. It has to be the work of a God, an omnipotent, omniscient, wise, and benevolent God. But this argument can be criticized in two different ways. The first one, the one that we have seen before, because it's trying to say that the eye is the defect and God a cause. And as Hume says, this connection cannot be it cannot be really proof. But another try, or another, even if we think that this connection is there, another big mistake is being made. As Hume sees it, it's as if we have a balance and we see that one of the sides is falling. The only thing that we can say about the other side is that it's lighter, but we cannot really go beyond that. It's as if we have something covered the balance. We know that the object is lighter, but for example, we don't know the form of the object. It can be a fruit, pencil, a cube, who knows? So it's very similar with the argument of design. We can think that something has caused the creation of the eye, but we cannot really attribute things such as omnipotent or omniscient, because we only have a balance, a covered balance that doesn't let us see beyond. Hume's theories, in one way or another, inspire the philosopher of our next stop, Karl Popper. Karl Popper also criticized the way in which we understand the world. And in reality, it's very normal because, as we have seen, it is in our DNA to do so. Popper criticized inductivism. This idea that throughout particular experiences, universal laws can be made, similar to what St. Thomas Aquinas did to try to demonstrate the existence of God. According to Popper, this form of creating theories cannot be done. For example, to better understand this inductivism, imagine that we are in a lake. We are observing the animals that are in the lake, and the first animal that we see is a white swan. We continue walking, and we see another white swan. Then continue walking, and see another white swan. And then we stated that all swans are white. But then finally we continue walking, and suddenly we see a black swan, and our theory has collapsed. Therefore, Popper proposed another form of creating scientific theories. Scientific theories must come from the intuition, creativity, and curiosity of the scientists, and not from observation. Scientific theories are not accumulative. We must overthrow past theories and replace them for better ones. Hypotheses are subjective because depends on the social context of the scientist, but science itself is objective because everyone can taste it. To advance science through this method, Popper tried to create another philosophical current named falsationism. Instead of trying to prove theories, we want to deny them and find a falsifier. Imagine, for example, to understand this falsationism, that we want to prove that all birds fly. Instead of looking all the birds in the world, for example, a parrot, a canary, or a crow, and see if all them flies, we want to look for a falsifier. And then, for example, we think about a penguin. A penguin, it's a bird, and does not fly. So our theory is false. The more evidence and assertions of falsehood a theory supports, the better and more logical it becomes. We shouldn't try to prove theories. We should try to deny them. According to Popper, theories are like nets that we use to better understand the world. We seek to improve our theories, improve those nets to get closer to reality. And that's what we have done on this journey. That is what Homo sapiens have done. That is what we did with religions, trying to get closer to reality. And that is what philosophers have done throughout history. We may never fully reach the truth, or maybe we will, but our duty is to try. Thank you.